So we're going to have somebody explain. You could use this pointer just to point at A. So what can you tell me about A? Is it a linear function or not?
It's linear because you're dividing by 2 and not by x. Because if you were dividing by x, it wouldn't be a linear function.
Perfect. All right. Volunteers for B. Anybody want to explain B? I put a L right there because that one is linear. Again, we are not dividing by a variable, so that's perfectly fine. It is a linear function. If we were dividing by x, it would not be a linear. So explaining B.
So the reason that b is a linear function
You can point at it.
is because the exponent is not on the variable.
Okay, good. So if the exponent was on the variable, then it would not be a linear function. How about C? Anybody? Jonathan's going to explain it. Oh, yeah.
No, he's not. He doesn't understand.
So again, B is also a linear function. So A is a linear function, B is a linear function, and Jonathan's going to explain to us C, and there is the pointer.
Okay. C is not a linear function because you're multiplying x and y together, and that breaks the rules of linear functions.
Perfect. C is not a good dab. C is not a linear function because you're multiplying x and y together, which makes it not a linear function. It would not produce a line if you were to graph it. Okay. Let me jump in and explain number 2 here. So I want to get in standard form. So before we even start working, we need to know what standard form is, and standard form is ax plus by equals c, where a, b, and c are integers, nice numbers, no fractions, no decimals, and also this book particularly likes the a value to be positive, and if you have a common factor in all your terms, in other words, if all your numbers are divisible by 2 or by 3, it's a good idea to divide all of them by 2 or 3 to make the equation easier to work with. So obviously right here we have x's and y's on the left side of the equal sign, and right here we only have y on the left side of the equal sign. So I need to get rid of this 6x. So I want to get rid of that 6x by subtracting 6x. It'll cancel out. What I do to one side, I do to the other. Now we know we cannot combine those. You can't actually subtract y's and x's, so I'm just going to rewrite it. So I'm going to rewrite it, and it's going to say, I'm going to write the x term first, negative 6x, bring down the positive y, bring down the equal sign, and the 5. Now that's almost in standard form. The only little thing I need to do is to change this a value to a negative, not to a negative, to a positive. And how do I do that? By multiplying everything by -1, or dividing everything by -1. But the bottom line is, if I multiply everything by -1, it's just going to cause all the signs to change. So this will become a positive 6x, this will become a negative y, and this will become a negative 5. Ladies and gentlemen, that's your standard form equation. The a value is 6, the b value is -1, and the c value is -5. How about number 3? This one is a little more interesting. It does have x's and y's on the left side of the equal sign. However, as you can see, they're not in order. So we need to take these guys and switch them. We need to switch them, right? Bless you. And we can switch because of commutative property of addition. You just switch them. You don't have to change any signs or anything like that. So we're going to have to switch them. But even before that, we also notice that there's fractions. And let's get rid of those fractions, yeah? You could get rid of one fraction at a time. Like if I wanted to get rid of the 4/5 and just make it a regular 4y, you'd have to get rid of the division of 5 by multiplying by 5, multiplying by 5, and multiplying by 5. Or you could get rid of the 1/8 first by multiplying everything by 8. Or technically, you could get rid of both of them at the same time by multiplying everything by the LCD. What do you guys say? Get rid of all of them at the same time, or get rid of one of them at a time? Okay, since I couldn't understand, I'm just going to go with one at a time. I want to get rid of the 5 by multiplying by 5. The 5's cancel. You will get 4y. And by the way, notice that the times 5, I wrote it up here. I didn't write it down here because it has to be up here. When you multiply a fraction times a number, that number is technically over 1. So that's why it has to be written up on top. Now, you don't have to write the over 1. It cancels, you're done. But over here, the 5 and the 8 don't cancel. So it's important that you write it up on top. That way you go 5 times 1, and you will get 5. But that divided by 8 is still there, and the x is still there. And the plus sign in front is still there, the equal sign. And last but not least, 5 times 4 is 20. Are you with me so far? Let's get rid of the other fraction. How do I do that? Multiply by 8, multiply by 8, multiply by 8. So we will have final answer 32y. I shouldn't say final answer, we still need to check. Cancel out the 8's, plus 5x equals 160. Now, I still need to switch these guys. I need to switch the order to have the ax before the by. So my final answer will be 5x plus 32y equals 160. What else? One more thing I'm supposed to check is to see if, okay, this is 5, so I need to check if these guys are divisible by 5, and both of them are not divisible by 5, so I'm done. That's as far as I could go. That's as nice as I could make it. That is my ax plus by equals c answer. Okie doke. Let's move on to this next one. On this next one, they do want us to rewrite it in standard form, and then they want us to find the x and y intercepts and then graph it. So there's a lot of steps to this problem. So let's first rewrite it in standard form. What should I do with this equation to start writing it in standard form? Anybody? So we're going to write it in order first by switching the y's and the x to have the x first, then the y. So I want to rewrite it. It's going to be a positive 6x minus 4y equals negative 12. Now, before I even start working, guys, is there any way I could make this nicer? Yeah, it's all what? Divisible by 2. So let's divide by 2, divide by 2, divide by 2. Okay? And we're going to have a new simplified equation that's 3x minus 2y equals negative 6. Yay? Okay. Now, we have it in standard form. It's a beautiful equation. And now we can do the x-intercept and the y-intercept. So the x-intercept, I'm going to do my work on the left side of this squiggly line, and the y-intercept, I'm going to do it over here on the right side. Now, in order to find the x-intercept, you must set y equal to 0 and solve. Okay, and in order to find the y-intercept, you must set x equal to 0 and solve. So I'm going to take the y value and I'm going to set it equal to 0. So there's my equation. All I did was replace this y with a blue 0 right there in parentheses. And let me solve this thing. So the 2 times 0, the negative 2 times 0 cancels out completely. I really have the equation 3x equals negative 6. So if I were to divide both sides by 3, I'd get my final answer, x equals negative 2. Now keep in mind, this is not a real answer. It's not a solution to an equation. This is the x-intercept value, okay? It's telling me that it's going to cross the x-axis at negative 2. Now let me find the y-intercept. For the y-intercept, we're going to set x equal to 0. So this guy right here is going to become a 0. And 3 times 0, as you can see right there, it's red, cancels out. You'll have negative 2y equals negative 6. Let's divide by negative 2, divide by negative 2. So you will have y equals positive 3. Once again, this is telling us where it's going to cross the y-axis at the value of 3. So this was a 3-part question, actually 4. The first part was to rewrite it in standard form. We did that. It's right here. Maybe I should box that in. This is standard form right here. And then after that, it asked us to find the x and y intercepts. That's one piece of work we did, another piece of work. And then at the very end, they're asking us to graph it. So if you know your x and y intercepts, you should be able to graph it on an xy plane. So we know that it crosses the x-axis at negative 2. Let me put a red dot right there. And we know that it crosses the y-axis at positive 3. Put a dot right there. So through any 2 points, you could draw a line. So let's draw a line right through those 2 points, and we're done. We've graphed. Easy peasy.